Glad that you're here. We have Davlin Dusterhouse, who's going to do our invocation for us. We always enjoy having you open our meetings. Davlin, thank you for creating the time in your schedule to come and do that for us.
God, on this day of celebrating the gifts of love in our life, whatever those relationships may be, may your loving presence be with all of us at this meeting, and may you bless all that is to happen and be decided upon and agreed upon. Let it be done with openness, willingness to listen, and even be challenged in what we think. We know that with your guidance that is possible. And thank you for all of those who serve our city in whatever capacity for however long. May each day be blessed and graced in all the years of their service. We give this all to you in faith and in trust in the love shown to us in your Son. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'm going to ask our city manager, Jared Miller, to come to the microphone because we have a very special, y'all can be seated if you want to. Thank you. Very, very special and very unique presentation. In the 6 years that I've been the mayor and that many of this council's been serving together, we've never had this presentation before. It is that unique, and the person is that special. So I'm going to let Jared introduce her.
Where is Rosemary? There you are. Can you come on up here? I know, and what I heard, so we recognized Rosemary last week, and one of the things that was said about Rosemary is that she loves the spotlight. I kid, and I have not worked directly with Rosemary as much as I would like, but Rosemary has the distinction of being with the city for 50 years, working with the city. That's a record. I mean, that's an achievement that I've never seen in my career in city management. But more than that, I've never heard of it. I called around to a bunch of friends who have been in city management for decades, retired city managers, and none of them had ever heard of somebody working for one organization, or really almost in government work at all, but for one organization for 50 years. So the accomplishment is impossible to overstate. And to hear the words that her coworkers, how much they value what she brings to the police team that she works with, and she's been working with the same type of special operations group for a long time. She's a huge force multiplier, I think is the way that they would characterize her. But I wanted to share a letter. Then we have a proclamation that we're going to read. Chief, I don't know if you or anybody else want to come up and say something. We definitely want to do that. But more than anything else, we just want to recognize and say how thankful and grateful we are. And as a community, I'm sure that y'all would want to be able to do the same thing, to recognize commitment to a city and commitment to an organization like Rosemary's demonstrated. So anyway, dear Rosemary, it's my great pleasure to recognize your commitment and service to the city of Amarillo. 50 years of service is no small feat and is an accomplishment I don't foresee being matched anytime soon. To my knowledge, no previous member of the Amarillo family has managed to reach this milestone. Every day, for 18,250 days, you have given your career to serve your community. You strive to meet their needs, and you make our citizens the most important part of your workday. The services you provide make our community stronger, safer, and enhance the quality of life for more than 200,000 people. Your commitment and sacrifices have not gone unnoticed. On behalf of myself, the executive staff, and the other 2,656 full and part-time employees of the City of Amarillo family, thank you. I am proud you're part of our team, sincerely. So.
All right, this is real special for me too as well. Let's see, I think that I am younger than you are. I cannot believe that. But Rosemary and I, we have been friends for like 30 years, and I just want to tell you, if you have Rosemary as a friend, you have a true friend. You have someone that is honest, someone that has integrity, someone that if they tell you they're going to be there, she's going to be there. She shows up, she follows through. And this is the way she's always been, whether she's at work or whether she is volunteering in the community. And she has done a lot of volunteer service in the community. And so she and I together, we help to improve the lives of women and girls, and we work right here in the city of Amarillo to do that. And I know that I've been doing it over 30 years, and I know Rosemary's probably a little bit longer than me because she started out in one of the other girls' clubs and then came into Seroptimus International of the Americas. So without further ado, we do have a proclamation for you. So I'm excited and happy that I get to read it for you. So hang with me here, okay? And she has a witty sense of humor, too. Whereas Rosemary Robinson began her career with the city of Amarillo on February 12, 1973 at the Amarillo Public Library, and whereas she transferred to the Special Operations Division of the Covert Tactical Unit with the Amarillo Police Department on July 16, 1973, and whereas she has put together thousands of cases in her time with Special Operations Division of the Covert Tactical Unit, and whereas she has consistently served the Amarillo Police Department and the city of Amarillo with dedication, integrity, and loyalty, and whereas she has reached an unprecedented milestone by achieving 50 years of continuous service to the city of Amarillo. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council members of the city of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim Thursday, February 9th, 2023, as Rosemary Robinson Day in Amarillo. Join in celebrating her 50 amazing years of service and wish her continued success in the coming years. Given under our hands and seal of office this 9th day of February, 2023, the Honorable Mayor Ginger Nelson, Council Members Cole Stanley, Frida Powell, Dr. Eddie Sauer, and Howard Smith. And you know what? I thought I was your only friend, but I saw that the Regency room, you were able to pack that room. So congratulations, Rosemary. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor and Council and Mr. Miller, for helping us recognize one of our most loved people at the department. You know, again, like Mr. Miller said, you can't overstate enough how important this is, but it goes just beyond time. Rosemary doesn't just come in and put in her time. Rosemary puts in a great deal of effort, and she's always been like that. The words I keep hearing when people talk about her are professionalism, integrity, just hardworking. She's always there. I don't know if she ever calls in sick. She comes in early and leaves late, and that's just how she operates. And we very much appreciate it. We don't take that for granted. And we also understand, you know, at the police department we have a rank structure. We have supervisors, sergeants, managers, lieutenants, captains, chiefs, and then Rosemary. And that's kind of how things work for us. But Rosemary, on behalf of the entire police department, your family, we appreciate your service. Thank you.
Take a picture with us too. We're going to take a picture, Rosemary, but Council, come on up around her.
Do we want to?
Yes. Okay, great idea. Rosemary, just something beautiful from the city. I know it's but HR department. HR department did that, and it's so. I want everybody to be able to see it because they very thoughtfully and intentionally wanted you to have something beautiful for today. So it says celebrating 50 years, but it's a picture. So when her flowers are dried and gone away, she can keep using it and knowing how much we appreciate her. Yeah. It's not a beer stein. Happy Valentine's Day. And then I would really like for everybody who's ever worked on a team with Rosemary to join us in this picture, please. So come on up.
Secret Lieutenant, supposed to be up there.
And who knew that library was training covert operations? Wow. I always say we do not give Amanda Barrera and her team enough credit, but I really had no idea.
Everybody right here? Ready, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
That might be my favorite proclamation so far.
50 years.
Okay, at this time, we are going to move to public address. Thank you. Yes. And so I'm going to pass the microphone to our city secretary, Stephanie
Mayor,
Calkins.
if I may, we have an announcement on there.
I think we're going to flip the order of that, if that's okay for you, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
That's okay. Thank y'all.
Okay, we have 3 public speakers signed up for today. Thank you for participating in today's City Council meeting. Your input and your opinions are important to us, and we are glad that you're here to share them. At each posted meeting, we invite our fellow community members to address City Council regarding posted agenda items. Every speaker has 3 minutes to address the council. At the end of 2.5 minutes, a warning beep will sound to alert you that you have 30 seconds left to wrap up your thoughts. We ask that you stay within your 3 minutes allotted. Speakers are asked to limit your comments to items on the posted agenda. We do have several public hearings on our agenda today. If you're here to speak on an item with a public hearing, we would ask that you make your comment either now during public address or during the public hearing, but not both, in order to keep accurate records. And it is up to you at which time you would like to speak. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and whether or not you live in the Amarillo city limits. Please state if you are speaking for, on, or against your item. And again, thank you for being here today. First up is Michael Fisher, and on deck after Mr. Fisher will be James Skank.
Can I ask a question? Is there going to be a hearing on this particular subject that I'm signed up for?
You were speaking on Ordinance 8047 on the city marshal, is that correct? There is not a public hearing on that one. Thank you.
Sorry, I think I had you tuned out a little bit. I was just thinking about other things, but I think you said say my name and address.
Whether or not you live in city limits.
Mike Fisher, I live in the city limits of Amarillo. Today, this council is planning to pass an ordinance to allow a new department to be created called the City Marshal to enforce city building safety and health codes with guns and handcuffs. What century are we going back to? I've got a suggestion. How about stop looking the other way for your friends and the friends of the wares of Amarillo National Bank? Here we are 6 years later. The land behind my home sold by the wares to the business owners behind my home. To this day, our council still chooses to ignore city code violations related to the construction and now operation of these businesses. The city of Amarillo to this day says all codes are up to date. See the enclosed letter. It's the last 7 pages of that document is the letter from the city. Take a look over the lease that I've included of those businesses. Now that I'm involved in a lawsuit with those businesses, the lease confesses to all the violations. It says, Article 6 of that first page, it's right below page 6, it's on the very first page. It says, permitted use. Tenant acknowledges the current use of the premise or the improvements located on the premises, or both may not conform to city ordinances or restrictive covenants with respect to the permitted use, zoning, height limitations, setback requirements, minimum parking requirements, coverage impact upon tenants' intended use of the premises. This is everything I've been complaining about, guys. This is their confession. And you guys are saying, nope, there's nothing wrong. And now you're going to create a department with guns to enforce this. So we all know who this new department will hurt the most. It won't hurt Dunkin' Donuts. It won't hurt Tide Dry Cleaners. Only small businesses. The ones that have to install an unnecessary $10,000 3-part sink or make a doorway smaller because it's too big or move a sink over 3 inches. Frida and now Cole, you guys are running for mayor, but this is especially for Frida, Miss Frida. You come from the north side. You know the struggles of small businesses. You especially understand that the extra layer of difficulty for minority-owned businesses. I only have about 20 more seconds if I can finish.
Wrap it up, Mr. Fisher.
PacificLegal.org, a study says, a study from the National Bureau of Economics Research shows that the number of active black business owners fell by 41% during COVID. They also show that nearly everything that has happened since COVID has hurt minority small business owners disproportionately hard. And overbearing government regulations are a big reason why. Ms. Frida, how dare you consider passing such filth that you know will hurt the little people even more, will hurt the minority-owned businesses even more.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Next, Mr. Skank. And on deck after Mr. Skank will be Jeffrey McGonigal.
Happy Valentine's Day. James Skank in the city. I've made requests in the past that I would like to see a discussion on the agenda of public address and how we handle it, because a lot of things changed when you came in, Ginger, Mayor, and it's been difficult for a lot of people to get here, especially at 1 o'clock, and deal with things, and I wish we could discuss that. And you mentioned in one of your videos that you wish you had not done some things there, and I'm yet to hear what you wish you had not done, but it would be interesting. Maybe some of that thing can change. Back to following the money and things, I'm interested in the pavilion total cost. I know the first part we put up was around $3 million or whatever, and then now we're fixing to spend that $786, and I guess I can hang around until that's discussed. But see, I'm in front of an agenda item, which is tough to talk about because he may answer everything I need to know. Are we putting cement down? Is that what's going on? Or, but because you have a sort of the cart before the horse, I'd like to hear the horse talk, and then the cart may go, hey, okay. You know, but instead we have to speak on something that we know not there, even though I read all the parts there. Next thing is sort of in tandem with Mr. Fisher, is the marshal's office. I see nothing but bigger government. more regulations, more people to enforce. That's not a good direction, because we have continually had an increasing government actions from this leadership. And that's always tough to watch as a liberty and freedom man, that I just don't exactly know which direction, and I've not really been too comfortable with it, as y'all know. I'll give Mr. McGonigal 50 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Skank. And lastly, Mr. McGonigal.
Hats off to the folks of Amarillo and Amarillo. The honor leadership. Happy Valentine's Day. It was the Beatles that said, all we need is love. It's all we need. It's all we need. I'm a passionate man. Passionate about Amarillo. What I want to talk about is, I was here 6 weeks ago, and I talked about mediocrity and I talked about excellence, okay? I found out all my life I have a quest for excellence. I wanted to see it. I want to see it in things. I want to see it in this country. I want to see it in the city. I want to see it everywhere I live. So I ask, there's multiple people or multiple businesses that are being paid out of our treasure, our treasure. And do we look at these companies and say, do they have a standard of excellence? Do they? A standard of excellence for a company would be like to say with Suddenlink, with Exerplay, I love Suddenlink. I love Suddenlink. They're the best. That's a standard of excellence. That's a standard of excellence. We have the power in this city to demand excellence. 200,000 of us, we can demand excellence. Catch my point. We look at excellence also. All of you will not be sitting before me in 3 months. 3 months. What's the legacy? What is the legacy? If you're here 6 years, you've got to have a legacy. You've got to have a legacy. This is the city of Amarillo. We got to have a legacy. To me, the legacy can be, as we move forward, May 6th becomes a day of celebration. We spend millions on the Super Bowl. How much do we spend on the greatest day of the year, as far as I'm concerned? How many people have given their lives for that vote day? Women, people of color, everyone that served. You have the power. You have the power to bring all the folks together. Can we get 65,000 people out to vote? Can you do that? You can. Let's do 100. Let's do 100,000. And let's turn to legacy again. Each one of you has a legacy to be presented. What is your legacy? What I want, moving forward, is this horrible 18,250-day crisis of care where we have killer dogs, masses of stray animals roaming these streets. 50 years, 5 decades. 5 decades. That's sick. It's downright sick. Anybody not agree with me with that? I've talked to elderly people that will not walk their animals. I've talked to people that have been ravaged by dogs that will not go to their mailbox. We have children. We've got an F. This is an F for care. Because these are the most vulnerable animals, children, the elderly. I've got my Clay, he's 27, has severe autism. If the dog's off leash, he can go into seizure. But people don't pay attention to that. Oh, my dog's nice. I've been bitten 5 times in 2 years. 5 times. This is not a reflection of what's going on in the city. There's great amount of energy going forward. Right now, it's beautiful. We've got what it takes.
Thank you, Mr. Gun-Eagle. Your time is up.
Can I say one more thing?
Wrap it up, please, sir.
There's one person that's on the board with animal control. They're the ones to bring awareness to the city so that when the new 5 come in, we've got motivation, we got energy moving forward.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Gun-Eagle. Okay, We do have an announcement on our agenda today with regard to Government Finance Officers Association and the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. So I'm going to pass the microphone to our city manager to do that announcement.
All right, Mayor, we've got Laura Storrs, Chief Financial Officer and Assistant City Manager, and then also Matt Poston. I'm not sure which one of y'all is going to be doing the lion's share of the talking, but to be recognized for excellence in financial reporting is something worth at least, well, not at risk of overusing the word recognizing. So, Laura.
Thank you, Jared. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We're here to celebrate today. We've had a lot of great awards and achievements to celebrate. I'm going to hand it over to Matt Poston, our Finance Director, who is lead of a fabulous team that is doing so much work behind the scenes and is continuing excellence in our financial area year over year. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Matt Poston.
Thanks, Laura. Mayor and Council, we just wanted to come to you today and give you some information on an award we recently won. This is the GFOA's Certificate of Excellence or Certificate of Achievement in Financial Reporting. This is the 46th time the city's won this award, so we have a long streak of excellence in our financial reporting. This is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting. In its attainment, you know, there's lots of criteria we have to follow, lots of boxes we have to check, but it shows that we have, you know, we're really out there doing what we can for our financials and trying to stay transparent with our citizens as well in our financial reporting. So I really want to thank my staff, and they're here today, so we'll have them come up here and we can recognize them. But we do it all with 3 CPAs, 12 accountants, and 11 support staff. So that's running all the city's financials and all the accounting and finance operations of the city. So I think, you know, we're really excited about this, glad to keep up the streak, and next year will be 47.
Wow. Wow. It's very impressive, Matt, and I want to say to the staff, too, on behalf of the council and all the citizens, the hours that y'all put in so that we operate, number one, in the black, and every department knows where they are month to month so that they can manage and operate in the black, and then how we can accountably answer to citizens through our internal audits as well as our external audits, and win awards for all of the documentation that it takes to support those operations. It is truly amazing. And so we do want to thank you guys. And it almost undermines it that you've done it 46 times, because you're like, well, it's no big deal. It must be pretty easy, like opening a Cracker Jacks box and digging out the prize. No, it's not that easy. It's that year over year and team over team of leadership has been trained to do it at the standard of excellence that you do it in, and that's why it's been 46 years, not because it's easy to do. So I want to say thank you. And we want to take a picture with you guys. So if y'all all come up here. I don't know, does it work okay? Want us to go down? Let's go down.
Oh, that's a crowd.
Is it a big crowd?
Looks like we got
Okay, maybe it works better for us to stay up.
Let's stand up here.
Let's do that, yeah. We're going to stay up. Sorry, I tricked you. You can stay down if you want to.
They won't be able to see me. They won't think you're me.
Yeah, right. Hello.
Get over here in front of Matt.
What a team. Thank you, guys. We appreciate everything you do. Agenda item 1A is to review the agenda items for our regular meeting and any attachments. Council, do you have any questions up front about that? Oh, you have one more announcement. Okay, sorry. One more announcement. I'm going to let the city manager make that.
All right, Mayor, we have a tradition of recognizing or introducing some of our key leaders every time we appoint new positions. So Emily Kohler, where are you at? There she is, right over there. Can you come up here to the podium real quick? So Emily has been appointed as the next planning director for the city of Amarillo. She originally joined us in 2019 as planning manager and was appointed to assistant director in September of 2021. She's taking over from Chris Valverde, who's retiring this month after a 24-year career in planning. Looking forward to seeing Emily in this new role. In the past, Emily has worked as a planner with the city of Tulsa, as a planner with the city of San Marcos. Prior to joining the Amarillo team, she worked as a planner with the Texas Historical Commission, assisting communities throughout the state, focusing on revitalization. She has a master's degree in community and regional planning from UT Austin and is an AICP certified planner with the American Planning Association. Emily's a big deal. Let's do this real quick. I'm so excited that we have the depth of bench that we have, the depth of support in the planning department that we have. A big part of that is Emily. She's done a huge job recruiting inside that department. I believe we're fully staffed or about to be fully staffed. And we've maintained that fully staffed position with a very rare turnover for the last 3 or 4 years. So that's a big deal because we weren't always there. Emily's part of that solution. She's really good at what she does. She has a wealth of experience. So we are lucky to have her, and I'm grateful for you being committed to Amarillo.
Absolutely. I want to add to that just from a citizen's point of view, especially in the community that interacts with planning and development so much, what they need is stability. And they need quick turnaround with the answer that you give them being the right answer that they can go borrow money on and build on and deliver their projects on. So I agree with Jared that we've seen a lot of stability in that department. And I appreciate Chris's leadership, Andrew Freeman's leadership. But your leadership has been very important to that department, Emily. And I'm very excited to see you take the reins here. And I know there are also some citizen faces in the room who've done a lot of work with Emily in the neighborhood empowerment programs. And so it's not just that she has the expertise to do the planning jobs and to supervise those that department, but she actually has a heart for our city. So I agree that it's very important for us to keep our young leaders like Emily, create stability in our departments, which leads to better citizen services. And I just love that you have a heart for our city and you have a heart for those neighborhoods and seeing them work to improve themselves. So I'm thrilled that you said yes to this job. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you have any other announcements, Jared?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, good. You got me in trouble with Stephanie because we changed the order. All right, here we go. 1A. Review agenda items. Does anybody have anything they need answers or questions on right up front? 1B, updates from council members serving on outside boards and commissions. Mr. Smith, the Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Advisory Committee.
Thank you. I'll try to make this report. I have a written report, but I had an eye appointment this morning, got my eyes dilated, so I don't know that I can read it. But I'll do the best I can.
Okay.
We had an active meeting. First thing we did is what we do annually is appoint the chairman and vice chairman, and Steve Rogers agreed to continue to chair the Pedestrian Bicycle Safety Committee. Chris Podzimity, a new member, is the vice chairman of it. Several things we discussed, mainly Chris Podzimity leading this, is the availability of city-owned right-of-way for availability of bike trails and connectivity. I think that can lead to some good things across the city. And then a couple of members of the committee, there's a subcommittee that's dealing with walkability, and that's being studied in depth. That's going to produce good things for the community. We discussed the hawks on Amarillo Boulevard. We got 2 relatively new hawks. We've got to do more educating on people to use them, but that will come in time. we're going to be reviewing all the crossing guards at the elementary schools and maybe middle schools, but there's 31 of them across the city to review those. This can develop into, depending on what we see, in making things safer. And then we're going to make some videos again. We got Mr. Fogelberg back here. You know him. He makes videos, and they'll be made in the next couple of months. Topics we'll be covering: the rules of the road for bike and pedestrians, school zones, bike safety, what is available in Amarillo for pedestrians and bicyclists, how to properly use the hawk signal. So we covered a lot in about an hour yesterday. That's all I've got. Unless you got questions.
Questions, council, for Mr. Smith? Okay, I think you did a good job without your notes. That was pretty impressive. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a report from the Convention and Visitors Bureau?
Yes, I do, Mayor. I did not attend that meeting, but I am prepared with a report. And also, if there's question and answers, we can take care of those too. So the Amarillo Convention and Visitors Bureau January board meeting, all we did there was just housekeeping items. And so the Amarillo Convention and Visitors Bureau's 2023 strategic plan is completed, and the staff is excited to meet the goals laid out for this year. The board was presented with 5 board policies, all of which all but one was unanimously passed. So it was the election of officers policy, which sets the election of the officers at each January meeting. Quarterly executive committee meeting where executive committee members will meet to discuss reports and ensure that the full board is receiving pertinent information. 3, the Open Meetings Act training, a policy directing all newly appointed board members to receive required Open Meetings Act training by the end of their second month of service. And then 4, a board giving policy set in place to demonstrate the board's commitment to the Amarillo Convention and Visitors Bureau mission and goals. And then 5, a reserve policy. Further discussion of the reserve policy will take place at the next Amarillo Convention and Visitors Board meeting. And then the 2022 Smith Travel Research Report was presented. Occupancy for 2022 was down 7.6% from 2021. However, inventory was also up by 5.2%. Revenue for the year ended at 0.9% over 2021. Although 2022 ended on a high note, the Amarillo Convention and Visitors Bureau will be closely monitoring trends and traffic to evaluate if any adjustments are needed moving forward. And that was the gist of the board meeting. So,
any questions, council, about that? Okay, thank you for that report.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 1C is to request any future agenda items or reports from the city manager. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything listed here, council, that needs to come off for further questions or discussion?
I don't have anything for further discussion or questions.
No, ma'am.
Okay, with that, do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
Yes, Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilmember Sauer to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. That passes with a 5-0 vote. We might have set a record for how quickly we just moved to our action agenda. I can't even get my pages to flip to get over there. Okay. Item 3A is a public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 8042. Mr. City Manager.
All right, Mayor. This is a enterprise zone, creation of a Texas enterprise zone program. We got Andrew Freeman, Assistant City Manager, to present the item. We also have in the room, I believe, Cassie Fish, and then some of your team are here also. So Andrew's going to present the item. Any questions you have, Andrew can answer it. Cassie can come up. And I apologize, I didn't get your name earlier. I'm looking y'all's names, it looks like. So I apologize for leaving y'all out. But Cassie, I'm sure, can introduce you. We'll bring Cassie up as soon as Andrew's done, then we can do questions. Does that sound okay, Cassie? I did not.
We have our consultant.
We'll bring them up then. Andrew, introduce it, and then you can hand it to them if you like.
Yes, sir. So this isn't a new process for the city council or the city. This has been something that the city's been involved in since about 2006 was the first ordinance that we adopted to be able to designate enterprise zone projects. The reason for today is we do have another request, and that's for the producer-owned beef project, which you're all familiar with and have approved previous incentives. This program is actually a state incentive that coordinates with local governments and allows qualifying companies that meet the requirements of the program based on job requirements, level of investment in the project, and also where they locate, being in or near an enterprise zone, to take advantage of basically what it does is sales tax rebate for the construction project. So what we're showing here today is a triple jumbo enterprise project designation, which is the largest one that you can apply for, since they will be making a large investment and the number of jobs that they'll be creating. It'll allow them a maximum potential refund of a little over $3.7 million to go toward the project, which is important as they're getting into the construction phase of that project. So typically, this would be done via a resolution, since we did have an ordinance done in the past. But since there have been additional incentive categories that are part of the scoring criteria through the state, we were advised that we should update our ordinance so the project, when it's submitted to the state, will receive all the qualifying scores to be considered for the designation. So that's why we are here today, for the public hearing and an ordinance versus a resolution. We also, just for some examples of past projects, we've had Northwest Texas Hospital, BSA, Bell, are some of the previous enterprise zone designations that have benefited from this program. So happy to take any questions. Eric Geisler is the consultant here with Cassie Fish and the POB team. Also happy to answer any project questions, but I know y'all are all very familiar with that project and all it entails.
Council questions?
Yes, ma'am, if I can.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Freeman, is there any additional ask that will be of the city? And can you go into a little more detail that this ask comes exclusively at the incentive from the state?
Correct. Yes. So no additional request as far as the city is concerned. We have a previous incentive through ADC and the city for this project. This is just going to the state to ask for sales tax rebates of the state portion of the sales tax. So that's the 6% portion that the state charges.
So it allows POB, local incentive. They've already got everything that we've already approved, all of the needs that they have. They're able to move forward with their investment and still to apply for additional incentives that would come from the state and through the state sales tax.
Yes, sir.
In an alternate.
Strictly to help with the construction pricing, as far as being able, any taxable items they purchase, they can submit for reimbursement.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Andrew? Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Cassie, do you want to say anything?
Unless I need to, I'm happy to.
I don't necessarily. Do we have questions for the POB team? Anybody? No. We appreciate that you guys are here. Certainly, we appreciate the project. Actually, Cassie, do come up and just remind us the capital investment. Just stay real basic. The capital investment, the employee numbers. Just the council is familiar with that based on the number of conversations we've had with you guys, but other people listening, we might be catching somebody hearing this for the first time.
I'm happy to do that. Thank you, Mayor Nelson, and thanks, Council, and everybody in the audience. We are building a producer-owned fed cattle processing plant. We will break ground in the second quarter of this year. We will employ approximately 1,530 people. Most of those are hourly. Some of them will be middle management and upper management. It is producer-owned in that our investors are cattle producers, ranchers, cattle feeders. We have between 50 and 100 producers that are investing in our plant. And the capital investment is north of $600 million.
Any questions for Cassie? I mean, the project is fantastic. It is our local producers doing business here, and it's the Texas Panhandle, not just their product, but their brand going worldwide through this project. So, of course, we've had support from the governor's office, and you guys have worked hard to build those relationships. But the AEDC team, Kevin Carter, Doug Nelson, and just the leadership there that has also worked their relationships in the governor's economic development office. We really appreciate that because this is a $600 million investment in a facility in our city that will bring jobs and that brings economic activity and supports those local producers, really from the top 26, but from a 5-state area. So it's a fantastic project, and we're so proud of it and proud to support in any way that we can.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Nelson. We are pursuing, when the USDA grant reopens for the second phase, we'll be pursuing a grant with them as well. We don't know if we'll get it, but which is to basically shore up the processing capacity in the United States. And Texas needs that more than really any other state.
Yeah, agreed.
So.
Well, thank you for being here today. I know we have a public hearing next.
Okay.
So if you're done, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, and anyone who wishes to speak for, on, or against this item may come to the podium and do so at this time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this item? Yes, Mr. Guneagle. You'll have 3 minutes, sir. Yes, at the podium.
One of the things I've been looking at is actually the Hereford area and the smell that's in the air. The smell that's in the air here. To me, it's polluted, and I know it's part of the industry, and I honor that so much. But have we done everything we can to address that?
Mr. Guneagle, if you don't mind addressing the council.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We appreciate that. Thank you.
So part of this $800 million, that's a lot. That's excellent money. But will part of that money be used to actually clean up? To clean up? There's a lot to be cleaned up in that industry.
I actually think this facility will have new technology with regard to smell control.
Okay.
So,
but to me, it's like the whole industry. Will there be, what I've read, there's a really dark past with a lot of this stuff. And anyway, so I didn't plan on talking about this. Will there be part of that where an excellent company's coming in and saying, you know what, we're going to keep it clean. We're going to keep Amarillo clean, and we're going to fight this pollution problem. We're going to have address and so forth.
Just to tidy up the record for the city secretary, are you speaking for, on, or against the item, Mr. Guneagle?
What do y'all think?
Actually, please, if you don't mind,
Am
just
I
address
for,
the council.
what do y'all think? Am I for it, against it? What am I?
No, if
right.
you don't mind, just address
What do you
the
all think?
council.
Does it come across
you,
as
sir,
for?
If you came to the podium,
Okay.
For our.
I'd say I'm against it at this point without what I'm talking
That's
about
fine.
in there. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak for, on, or against item 3A? Okay, hearing no one, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion on this item.
Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 8042, ordaining the city's participation in the Texas Enterprise Zone program pursuant to the Texas Enterprise Zone Act, Chapter 2303 of the Texas Government Code, providing tax incentives, designating a liaison for communication with interested parties, and nominating Producer-Owned Beef, LLC, to the Office of the Governor, Economic Development and Tourism through the Economic Development Bank as a triple jumbo enterprise project.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Council Member Smith to approve ordinance number 8042. Do we have any discussion or questions about the motion? Okay, all of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. That passes with a 5-0 vote. Moving on to item 3B, is a public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 8043. Mr. City Manager.
All right, Mayor, we've seen this a number of times in executive session. It is an economic development item. We've got Kevin Carter, President and CEO of AEDC, to present the item. Kevin.
Mayor, Council, thanks for letting me be here today, and thank you for going through that last process. I think it's very important on that project that Producer-Owned Beef is doing, so much so that it won a national award. It's kind of been floated around. We haven't had any kind of press release, but They won a Community Impact Award with that project announcement from Trade and Industry Magazine. So really excited to talk about that. But this is ordinance number 8043. This is consideration of reinvestment zone number 22. That zone is located on approximately 400 acres just east of Folsom Road and north of 24th Street. So just east of the two state prisons there. And this ordinance, or this consideration of the reinvestment zone, is the first step in the Chapter 312 process of allowing for tax abatement to a prospect. This would be a manufacturing facility that we will bring to the council at a later date, but this is just the first step in securing the reinvestment zone, so we're able to give that prospect an incentive.
Any questions for Kevin? Thank you, Kevin.
All right, thank you.
At this time, we'll open a public hearing on item 3B, and anyone who wishes to speak for, on, or against this matter, this 3B item may have 3 minutes to do so. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for, on, or against this item? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 8043, designating certain areas of the city as reinvestment zone number 22 for commercial and industrial tax abatement. The zone is approximately 400 acres east of Folsom Road.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilmember Sauer to approve ordinance number 8043. Any questions or discussion on that motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. Motion passes with a 5-0 vote. Item 3C is a public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 8044. Mr. City Manager.
All right, Mayor, we've got a couple of rezonings, both of which will have public hearings, and Brady Kendrick, Planner 2, is going to handle both of those items. First one is in the area of Coulter and Arden.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This item is to consider an ordinance rezoning Lot 1, Block 11, Glen Arden Addition Unit Number 12 in Randall County, the change from agricultural district to general retail district in the vicinity of Coulter Street and Arden Road. And the applicant is Daryl Furman for the Alfred Group, LLC. And they are proposing this change to develop the site with a Dollar Tree retail store and also a future retail site that development plans are not known at this time. Adjacent zoning is agricultural district to the north, general retail district and residential district 2 to the south, residential district 2 to the east, and general retail district to the west. The Planning and Zoning Commission found that this request would conform to the future land use map category of suburban commercial, and it also complies with the neighborhood unit concept given its location at a section line intersection. And notices were sent as required by state law, and 3 calls were received that did not express opposition to the request. And considering the just mentioned, Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval with a unanimous 6-0 vote.
Questions for Brady, Council? Thank you, Brady.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll open a public hearing on item 3C, and anyone who wishes to speak for, on, or against this matter can do so at this time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on item 3C? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 8044, ordinance rezoning Lot 1, Block 11, Glen Arden Addition Unit Number 12, in addition to the City of Amarillo in Section 30, Block 9, BSNF Survey, Randall County, Texas, plus 1/2 of all bounding streets, alleys, and public ways, to change from agricultural district to general retail district in the vicinity of Coulter Street and Arden Road.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilmember Stanley to approve ordinance number 8044. Any discussion or questions about the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Same sign. That passes with a 5-0 vote. Item 3D is a public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 8045. Brady?
Ordinance 8045 is to consider rezoning a 49.18 acre tract of unplatted land in Randall County in the vicinity of Loop 335 and Coulter Street to rezone from agricultural district to general retail district. And the applicant is Daryl Furman for Atterbury Elevators LLC, Happy Again LP, and Rock Rose Development LLC. And the adjacent zoning consists of general retail district, residential district 2 and 3, and agricultural district to the north, agricultural district, general retail district, and light commercial district to the south, light commercial district to the east, and general retail district and agricultural district to the west. The applicant is proposing this change in zoning to develop the tract with multiple retail sites for retail-related land uses. The Planning and Zoning Commission found that the future land use map designates this area as suburban commercial and general commercial. And given the proximity of the Loop 335 highway to the south, I-27 to the east, and Coulter to the west, they found, given the close proximity of these major thoroughfares, that general retail would be appropriate for this area, given the auto-oriented nature of the area. Regarding the neighborhood unit concept, the Planning and Zoning Commission did note that given the proximity of these major thoroughfares in this portion of the section, this area does not strictly conform with the neighborhood unit concept. However, given the development factors just mentioned, they do believe that the request would be appropriate for the tract. And in considering the factors above and existing zoning and development patterns in the area, the Planning and Zoning Commission believes that with existing development standards in place for the area, that this request is appropriate and would not have detrimental impacts on existing zoning or development patterns. We did send public notices on this one as well, and we've received one call in support of the request. And given the just mentioned, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval with a 6-0 vote.
Questions for Brady? Thank you, Brady. At this time, we'll open a public hearing on item 3D related to ordinance number 8045. If there's anyone present who wishes to speak for, on, or against this matter, you may have 3 minutes to do so. Mr. Gun-Eagle? If you don't mind, sir, when you step to the podium, just clarify for us, are you speaking for, on, or against the item?
In the beginning, you talked about it was against, I can't recall, it was against something. It was against some kind of zoning and so forth. So I can't, if there's something against it and then you say, hey, but it's okay, I can't get on board with that. That's not a win-win to me. So I'm against it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present who wishes to speak for, on, or against item 3D, ordinance number 8045? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 8045, rezoning a 49.18 acre tract of unplatted land in Section 31, Block 9, BS&F Survey, Randall County, Texas, plus 1/2 of all bounding streets, alleys, and public ways to change from agricultural district to general retail district. And this is in the vicinity of Coulter Street and Hollywood Road, which is Loop 335.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilmember Sauer to approve ordinance number 8045. Any discussion or questions about that motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. That passes with a 5-0 vote. Item 3E is consideration of ordinance number 8046. Mr. City Manager.
All right, Mayor, this is an item adopting the budget amendments that pertain to fiscal year 21-22 budget. These are expenditures that council discussed or approved over the course of the past year that were not included in the FY 2022 budget. Laura Storrs, Chief Financial Officer, Assistant City Manager, is going to present the item and answer any questions council has. Laura?
All right. Good afternoon again, Mayor and Council. You have an ordinance in front of you, and this is an annual process that we go through right as we are finalizing our audit for the prior year, and we're making sure that we've got all of our budget amendments squared away. There's some items that I think our city secretary was passing back down, and then there was an email that I shared with all of you last night just giving a little bit more detail about this. So the ordinance, This is the first reading of the ordinance, and we are looking to amend 7 different budgets from general fund, local seized property, the LEOS training fund, compensated absences fund, public health fund, Greenways PID, and Heritage Hills PID. And just so you're well aware, the PID boards met yesterday, and they recommended these budget amendments as well to come forward to council. So the one, and I can answer any questions that you all have on these. The one that I provided some additional information on was on the general fund budget, and I just wanted to share a little bit that we've had a lot of additional grant dollars coming in this year. It's been a huge win for our community, and those dollars were brought forward to you all for the American Rescue Plan Act in 2 different installments to look at authorizing the use according to those standards. So one of the big uses was revenue recovery that we experienced throughout COVID. And so council authorized in two different times to go ahead and capture all the revenue recovery we could. Along with that, what it did is it created some excess cash in our general fund that then we discussed with you all about some of the upcoming projects that could be beneficial to the organization and the community. And one of the handouts that was passed down is a comprehensive list of those capital projects that and those items we were looking to spend those excess cash created through the general fund on, and that's a wide variety of things, from the St. Anthony Senior Housing Project, from the homeless day and night shelter that we now are referring to as Transformation Park, to police's 4th and 5th remodel, the workers' comp situation that we've discussed at length. And there's a variety of things here. Now, on the budget amendment and the items that I sent to you all last night, I outlined only a portion of these. The rest of them were absorbed in the overall general fund expenditure budget because we did experience staffing shortages throughout the year. And so we're looking to ask to amend the budget for what's needed just to finalize the rest of these projects. One other thing I wanted to mention, we have been working long hours on the audit. We will be presenting the audit to you all next Tuesday, and a couple of you will join us for an audit committee meeting, and we appreciate your time because I know it's a commitment sitting and digging through financials with us. As we were finalizing a few things, did see on the general fund, as you've got on your ordinance here, it's $22 million of an addition to the expenditure budget. Next week, I'll bring it to you, and I'm asking you all to change that from $22 million to $22.5 million. So a slight increase there as all the final items in the audit came forward. And again, that will go to cover items on this list here that we discussed back in, I believe it was in June, when we were talking about the ARPA funds. So with that, can I answer some questions, or if there's something else I need to go into detail on as well?
Questions, council?
Yes,
Mr. Stanley?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Storrs. So just to try to get a good comprehensive understanding of where you're laying everything out and kind of how the audit works. So am I to understand that any savings that we would have in FY 21-22 would have ended up in this $22 million?
So, no, not all of our savings. But a portion of our savings, and a lot of it was created through those revenue recovery dollars. And those came in, sorry, I'm flipping through my notes here. Bear with me, I apologize. The rest of it, because we had strong sales tax collections in the prior year as well, we will be bringing those back to council in the next budget process to look at asking council how they would like to authorize projects for the next upcoming year. But on the revenue recovery, we captured about $25 million in total between the 2 rounds of the ARPA. So the most of that is what's coming towards funding these projects.
Okay. And I am following you on how the revenue recovery is being allocated, and that this is cleaning up your budget to go back and say, hey, here's how we're allocating this money.
Yes.
Is there another opportunity, perhaps maybe next week, when we would be able to go back and look at any other savings that we would have. And does that need to be involved in this type of consideration? Because this is a budget amendment pertaining to the fiscal year, not just pertaining to these ARPA monies.
Yes, that's correct. So again, we are looking at budget amendments for the year that ended September 30th of 2022. And we received direction from council at the October 12th, 21 council meeting and at the June 14th, 2022 council meeting to move forward with these projects. So these were started in the prior year. So this is just going in and covering those portions of the project that were already in place. There will be, as we present the budget, as we present the audited financial statements, and as we move into budget, there will be additional savings. Again, as mentioned, like on sales tax, we have additional dollars that can be utilized towards capital that are coming on the revenue side. This is more generated from ARPA and then savings on the expense side.
On the expense side.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
And I follow that. And so like in construction, we do estimates versus actuals. That's a little bit of what you're doing here. And so it just helps me to track that.
Yes.
For example, if park lighting was $9 million and we spent 7.4.
Yes.
So we would expect to see that back and
Absolutely.
then be able to have discussions on, okay, what can we do with this $1.6 million?
That's correct, yes.
So in that estimates versus actuals, understanding, you're telling me that would show up here this week and next week, right?
So yes, I can bring some additional information for you this next week. This is basically getting your general fund budget for the year ending September 30th, 2022, almost completely even budget versus actual on the expense side.
Okay.
So, but then on your revenue side, you've got excess, and I've got a page in the audit that I think will be a good one for you to reference back. It's a one-page summary of general fund revenue, budget versus actual, and expense, budget versus actual. And I think you'll be able to easily see that revenue variance that's coming through, and those are the items we're going to be utilizing during budget to work with council to do one-time capital projects with those dollars.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. I know for myself and then also the James Skanks of the world out there, it's very helpful to be able to see not only our revenues doing well and, hey, we have an extra, say, $7 million in sales tax that we now need to allocate in a budget.
Yes.
But then also looking back and saying, hey, we thought this would cost $9 million.
Yeah.
It didn't cost that. Or we thought we would need
Absolutely.
$6 million. It didn't cost that. And so the more you can outline those for myself and the public, the easier it is to track as we move forward.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Storrs.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good questions. I appreciate it, especially from somebody who hasn't been through the budget process as many times as the rest of us, that I think it's good to just go through the basics of how the budget operates and how the process works. So I'm glad you covered those questions.
Oh, I appreciate
Any other
it, Mayor.
questions?
Thank you for your time.
No, I don't have any questions. I just have a statement. And so, Ms. Storrs, I always appreciate our departments who do apply for those federal grant dollars, because that does lessen the burden on our taxpayers. And so that just adds more revenue for us to get other projects completed. So thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, great comment, too. Okay, with that, do we have a motion then on item 3E?
Yes, Mayor, we do. I move to adopt ordinance number 8046, adopting the budget amendments pertaining to the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Council Member Smith to approve ordinance number 8046. Any further questions or discussion about it? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. That passes with a 5-0 vote. Item 3F is consideration of ordinance number 8047. Mr. City Manager.
All right, Mayor, we've got Assistant City Manager Andrew Freeman to discuss the item. This is the creation of the City Marshal's office, which is a consolidation of a number of existing departments and functions into one operating unit. Andrew.
Yes, sir. So I did want to reiterate that. So it says creation of a new department. That's really based on the ordinance, but what we're actually doing is reorganizing and redistributing existing resources and staff into a consolidated office, rebranding from the Fire Marshal's office into the City Marshal's office. Main reason being that they'll be taking on a broader scope of duties related to code enforcement, code compliance, and parking enforcement. So The fire marshal's office staff will be joined by existing employees from within building safety that are solely focused as civilians in code enforcement and the condemnation process, as well as the police department's parking enforcement officers. So we've got 10 in fire marshal's office, 11 in building safety, and 2 in the parking enforcement area for a total of 23 employees that will be within this city marshal's office. There will be no increases to the annual budget, no additional full-time employees created through this process. Typically, something like this change of moving staff around and reorganizing would not come to City Council. The reason for the ordinance today is to really clean up the code sections that refer to the fire marshal, refer to APD being over parking, traffic-related sections that are all being consolidated under one umbrella with the city marshal's office. So that's why that's here today. And also, just to reference that the peace officers, again, that we currently already have on staff, they're not new peace officers, and currently they're not part of the meet confer agreement that the police department has. This ordinance just clarifies that via ordinance, just to ensure to everybody that this is not additional meet and confer related staffing. So within that ordinance, there are no changes related to laws being created, new codes being created. So this is just enforcing and getting compliance with codes that are already on the books, stuff that the staff and building safety are already working on as well. And then as far as the fire marshal's office, those that are peace officers are already authorized to enforce any code that's in the ordinances today. So this is really just giving them the direction that they have a broader scope to focus on in order to be more efficient with the resources that we have. So benefits I wanted to touch on. It's a more efficient use of city personnel and resources, really to focus on and make it a priority to improve code compliance citywide. It's not about enforcement. It's not about writing tickets. It's about upkeep of property and keeping that standard that the citizens would like to see, which is why the codes are on the books that are approved by past city councils and current city councils. So there will be 15 staff members, 2 additional if you count the city marshal and the assistant city marshal that will be cross-trained and able to work on any of these cases citywide. So there's a lot more staff that can cover the entire city limits versus the 7 that we have now. And on the next slide, I'll show you kind of how we compare with other cities across the state. We'll be able to be more proactive to try and address concerns before they reach that point of requiring enforcement or demolition, because really the goal is we want to try and be proactive and help those properties resolve issues before we have to tear something down. We want it to be a viable project for the person that lives there, person that owns it, and not something that has to be torn down and rebuilt later. Peace officers and civilian staff will work in conjunction together in the field, which will increase and improve safety for our staff working on these concerns. It will be enhanced customer service with one department responsible for most of those code-related concerns citywide. And then the other departments involved, like building safety and APD, can focus more on their core missions. So building safety moving forward can really become solely focused on the private sector development, making sure we're getting inspections done, focus on plan review, and splitting these off as well. Building safety has a very good fee structure that's supporting what they do and showing that they have opportunities for growth, which will allow us to add more inspectors, more plan reviewers, and just continue to improve in those areas, which is very important since we know we have thousands of new jobs coming online that'll just have that many more houses and develop that are needed to support it. This is a comparison I spoke about. So what I have plugged in here, the 15, not including the city marshal and the assistant city marshal, that puts us to about 1 inspector available per 13,000. Prior to that, we only had 7 focused in this area, and that was 1 per 28,000. So that brings us a lot better in line with some of these other cities as far as resources allocated. I think it's very important for a city our size with well over 105 square miles to cover to be able to be more proactive in the areas that they're inspecting and trying to work toward compliance. This last slide is just touching on the initial areas of responsibility. They'll focus on the citywide inspections, violations related to vegetation, junk and debris, junk vehicles, substandard structures. We hope this group will also be able to help a lot with littering, illegal dumping campsites, and some of those violations that APD's had to dedicate quite a few resources to, along with other departments. It would oversee the dangerous structure process that works with property owners to mitigate those structures, or ultimately it does sometimes lead to demolition of the structure when those compliance measures fail. It works with our zoning board of adjustments, construction advisory appeals, and condemnation, which would still have a lot of coordination with building safety because those boards focus on both areas. And then they continue to have the investigations related to fire cases, arson investigations, fire plan review, fire sprinkler testing and alarms. And then parking enforcement would include downtown meter and free parking, parking and junk vehicle enforcement citywide. This one's going to see a lot of benefits because one of the regular calls we get is a legal parked vehicle in a residential area, but code enforcement might go out. If it's in the street, that's really a peace officer issue, and if it's in the driveway, that's a code officer issue. So this way it all falls under one umbrella. They'll also take on taxi limo inspections and permitting, as well as the animal drawn vehicle permitting process. So taking on some of those extra duties that either traffic or APD or building safety had under their departments. So with that being said, I'm happy to try and answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Andrew? Sure, Mr. Stanley.
Thank you, Mayor. I see our building chief in the back there. I sincerely respect him and his abilities to run that department. I know he's doing his best to really improve building safety. I'm interested to see if it would be okay with council to have him come up here and get his viewpoint on what this does to help him and his department, maybe what that allows him in some latitude or some additional resources, if that's okay, Mr. Scholes.
Manager?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not gonna steal any of Johnny's thunder. Johnny, take it away. How's this going to help you?
It's going to help us focus on the building, the built environment, and also help our budget, because a lot of what you all see is our deficit in the budget, and that comes from the enforcement part of this. You know, with it being in the fire marshal's office, I just see a huge benefit where everybody can focus on this. I think when I started in building safety, we had 4 code enforcement people, and we've now got 7. And you see, Lubbock has 18, and they're a pretty similar sized city. So with 15 people being here, I see we have a whole lot better. As Andrew said, right now all we can focus on is people calling and complaining, and we respond to that. With more people, we can focus on being proactive.
Man, Johnny, that's helpful. I share the concerns of I don't want to grow government. I think it's better when it's smaller and efficient. But that doesn't mean we don't need to restructure government, especially as we learn. And so, like, if this is already existing places and positions in your department that you can reallocate and they can be better suited and managed that way, ultimately, I think anything we can do to service people is what we're trying to do. And I do want to speak to that we're trying to service our customers, not enforce additional codes or create additional officers for that. So am I understanding that you're in favor of this and this is something that would help your department?
Yes. I think it will help the city overall to where all we can do is respond to complaints, where in the future we'll be able to address it before it gets to that situation.
Okay.
So it'll definitely help out all the citizens in Amarillo.
Okay.
To add to what Johnny was saying, typically code enforcement is not something that's located with the people that do plan review, construction inspection, and all the other things that Johnny does through building safety. Right now we're working on a very critical project to try and enhance the speed of development for developers, and anything we can do to allow Johnny and his team to focus on that project and on the efficient management of the development process is going to be a big benefit to him. Plus the code enforcement that's being pulled from Johnny's area is more germane to the other duties that are going to be going on in the city marshal's office.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I appreciate the additional info. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions, council, for Andrew or Johnny? Just to clarify, we're not hiring any new employees.
No, ma'am. No new employees.
So that was brought up during public comment, and I think that was misinformation. I want to make sure we clear that up. And this is just restructuring to be more efficient and do better at providing those services. Okay.
And Andrew, what was the breakdown of those employees? I think I heard the numbers 10, 11, and 2, I believe.
One second. So we've got 10 already in Fire Marshal's office, 11 in Building Safety. That includes field personnel as well as admin support
Okay,
for
so that's
the
both.
condemnation process, and then 2 for parking enforcement through APD. Total of 23.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have a motion with regard to?
Yes, Mayor, we do. I move to adopt ordinance number 8047, amending the municipal code of the City of Amarillo, adding Chapter 10-5 concerning the authorization of the City Marshal's office to enforce certain health and safety code enforcement and building safety regulations, and amending various portions of the applicable code.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Council Member Sauer to approve ordinance number 8047. Do we have any discussion or questions about the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. That passes with a 5-0 vote. Item G is consideration of ordinance number 8048.
All right, Mayor, we've got Anthony Spinell, Director of Environmental Health, here to present the item. This item is a ordinance that will allow low-risk food establishment to not have a food handler manager on site. So Anthony is going to give a much better explanation of this item and answer any questions council might have. Anthony.
I sure will try. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. In front of you today is an ordinance updating Section 8518 of the Amarillo Municipal Code relating to certified food manager requirements. I've mentioned this before, and I'll bring it up again. A couple years ago, state law was amended and made a whole bunch of changes. This is one of the changes that has had a pretty big impact on our community related to certified food managers. It essentially set a requirement that a certified food manager has to be present at all hours of operation for every type of food establishments. Things that are very, very low risk all the way up to very risky type food establishments. Essentially, it also gave an exemption. So if the regulatory authority deemed for some reason that we could exempt facilities, we could do that. It's really difficult to do that up front without knowing the impact of what this rule is going to have on establishments. So it's taken us a couple years to get there, learning feedback from our regulated partners and the like. Essentially, what we are proposing here is to exempt low-risk facilities, risk level 1s and 2s, from this mandatory requirement. There's 4 risk levels currently, so you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 being low risk, 4 being extremely high risk. So we're exempting risk level 1s and 2s as long as they meet a couple provisions within the code. Provision number 1 is you have at least 1 certified food manager employed with the business that can be phoned if needed, if they're not there or there, and then all else are food handler certified, which was the previous version of state law. That's how that read prior to this just recent revision. So as long as they can meet those 2 provisions within their establishments, they'll be exempted from having a certified food manager present at all hours. So I do want to highlight a couple documents that I've given you today. We have our risk categorization of food establishment chart. This is a document that is given to us by the Food and Drug Administration, so we have adopted that internally as well for a long time. And just give you a couple examples of a risk category 1 would be something that does very minimal food preparation or sells just prepackaged food at all. So something like a convenience store, a small convenience store that just does chips, Cokes, candy bars, or maybe like a small coffee shop that just sells coffee. Risk category 2, you can increase a little bit. That would be more like your fast food style restaurants, maybe say your McDonald's, things similar in nature to that. A risk category 3 would be something more like a full service restaurant, and a 4 would be something that's high risk, like a hospital, a nursing home, something that has high risk patients. Keep in mind that it's not uncommon for risk categories to go up 1. So if you have a 1 based upon how they perform and what they do in their facility, they could potentially move to a 2 and then back to a 1, or a 2 can potentially move to a 3, back to a 1, 3 to a 4, back to a 3, if that makes sense. And then I also want to point out we have a risk assessment form that I've provided for you today. This is just how we assess risk. We borrowed this from Lubbock. They have a very good assessment tool here that has been kind of blessed by the FDA, which is great, and we really like it. We plan on assessing risk once a year in all of our regulated facilities. So if somebody is deemed risk level 3 and is no longer within the exemption of what we're talking about here, know that this is a constant reassessment, right? So they'll be reassessed at least annually to see if they can move up and down. I lastly wanted to mention that this was presented to the Restaurant Association, Panhandle Restaurant Association, and we do have a letter of support from them, which I've provided to you today. And I want to kind of give some kudos to my staff, but I was speaking to the chair of the Panhandle Restaurant Association when I received this letter, and this whole process was presented at a chairs meeting, a regional chairs meeting in the state of Texas, and they just kind of shared how we work with the PRA very closely, have a great relationship, and we ask for their support on anything that we're going to be bringing to you. We're going to look for the PRA support on, and if they don't give their support, then we're going to do something different, right? We're going to go back and try to mutually agree on something. That was presented at a chairs meeting, and everyone across the state of Texas, from what I've heard from our representative, is that is uncommon. There's nobody else that's doing that, so we're unique in that aspect. I would hope that my other colleagues across the state are doing that, but it appears that we're the only ones, which is great. So I think we have a fantastic relationship with our regulated partners. I think we're doing really good work, and I hope to continue that today and provide a little bit of relief here. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Anthony? Okay. I will say, just being out and about among the people that you provide that service to, restaurant owners, I have had some concerns shared about the having to have that person on staff all the time, because anyone who owns a business, you have such high turnover in your employees right now. So just as soon as they get somebody trained, that somebody may move on to a different job. And so I really appreciate the changes that you and your team are leading, Anthony, in bringing this ordinance to us, because it will address those items, especially for convenience store owners and people who are offering those low-risk food. I mean, it's such a burden for them to have someone on staff, and they have a lot of hours to cover if they're open 24/7. So I think this really meets the needs. It just gets back to your point. Those folks convenience store owners might not be members of the Texas Restaurant Association or the Panhandle chapter of the Texas Restaurant Association. But the point is, they're doing business in our city, and you guys are looking how to partner with them to provide them a better service and provide the citizens of Amarillo even more security that the products they're purchasing and eating there are safe. And I think your team is doing a good job of that.
I appreciate that. And I will mention to that point, we did take an intermediate step to try to relieve some of that burden associated with cost. About a year ago, for our Certified Food Manager course, it was about $150 per person. We partnered with another organization and was able to cut that cost in half. So we're offering that in an online environment, about $80 a person versus an in-person only at $150. So we did try to take an intermediate step to relieve some of that burden, and that wasn't very beneficial. I mean, it helped, but
yeah, it helps.
It doesn't relieve the constant turnover that you're having, which
yeah.
I totally understand, and it's one of the exact reasons why we're here today.
Yeah. So as always, your job involves keeping people safe, but also relieving as much administrative burden on businesses as possible. And so appreciate the effort that you do to keep that balance.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
At this time then, do we have a motion with regard to item 3G?
Yes, Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 8048, revising Chapter 8-5, Article 4, Section 8-5-18 of the Amarillo Municipal Code. This revision will provide an exemption to a mandatory certified food manager requirement set forth in the 2021 Texas Food Establishment Rules and the 2017 Food and Drug Administration Food Code.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Council Member Stanley to approve ordinance number 8048. Any questions or discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. That passes with a 5-0 vote. Item 3H is consideration of resolution number 0214234. Mr. City Manager.
All right, Mayor, we've got Cody Balzen, Economic Development Specialist, to present the item. This is a tax credit item.
Yes,
Cody.
good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. So this is a resolution of support for the West Winds of Amarillo project application for housing tax credits through the TDHCA. So as we only see this about once a year, we'll do a little just overview again on what this program is and what it offers. So this is a program that's administered through the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. This directs private capital towards the development and preservation of affordable rental housing for low-income households. Tax credits are awarded to eligible projects to offset a proportion of their federal tax liability in exchange for the production and preservation of these affordable housing, rental housings. There's two types of tax credits through these programs. There is a 9% that is a competitive, and then there's a 4% that's non-competitive they can apply for. So the HTC, the Housing Tax Credits Program, was designed to provide a source of equity financing for the development of affordable housing, also to maximize the number of affordable housing units added to the state's housing supply, and to ensure that state's affordable housing supply is well maintained and operated, serving a credit to the communities in which they are established. This also to prevent losses to the state's affordable housing. So if there's a affordable housing that's already currently existing, this can help with extending the housing tax credits to be able to update those. So when they apply, they basically are asked to supply a resolution of support or a resolution of no objection from the city. They are requesting a resolution of support from this, and that would, when they apply as well, the point system on this, a resolution of support would allow them 17 points. A resolution of no objection is just 14 points. Thank you. So a little overview of the project. This project is to be located at 2505 South Grand Street. The estimated project cost is $10.5 million. Is anticipated to provide 80 units, and these are 10% at market rate and 90% at affordable. Their anticipated rent range is $434 for one bedroom at a 30% AMI to $1,200 for a three-bedroom at a 60% AMI. Anticipated income levels for those would be $37,000 for one bedroom, $46,300 for the three-bedroom. This development team has completed projects that equates to more than 1,500 affordable housing units. This is the location, the proposed location of this project at 2505 South Grand Street. And that little inset is a little site plan that we have. The project has already gone through a preliminary application conference just to try to catch any issues that might occur between the project and the city. These are a few images that are provided to us through the developer's portfolio. Shows a little bit of the amenities and the architectural styles and stuff of these developments. So staff's analysis of this project would provide additional affordable housing in the southeast quadrant. This is consistent with recommendations of the CDS 2022 residential housing study that we did that did identify some of our lacks of housing in our city. This project does also meet comprehensive plan goals of diversifying the Amarillo's housing stock, which would include well-maintained affordable housing units. The proposed use is consistent with the existing zoning on the property, so there will be no need for a rezoning of the property or anything like that. If rewarded by TDHCA, the construction of this is estimated early to mid-2024 and take approximately 18 to 24 months, and staff does recommend approval of this resolution of support. and I'll answer any questions. We also do have Kelly Garrett with Salem Clark Companies available to answer any questions as well. They're the applicants of this.
Any questions for Cody or the applicant? Thank you, Cody. Do we have a motion with regarding item 3H?
Yes, Mayor, we do. I move to approve resolution number 02-14-23-4, providing support for an affordable housing tax credit application to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs Housing Tax Credit Program by SCF Amarillo 23 LP, a private entity, West Wind of Amarillo, a development for affordable housing located at 2505 South Grand Street.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilmember Smith to approve resolution number 021423-4. Any questions or discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. That passes with the 5-0 vote. Item 3I is consideration of resolution 021423-5.
Yeah, so this is a good afternoon again. This is a application again for housing tax credits through the TDHCA, and this is a request for a resolution of support for a Lamont Lofts development, and this is to be located at 2901 South Osage Street. This is anticipated to be 42 units, all of them affordable units. There is a breakdown there of anticipated rent ranges, and also the 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom aspect of them as well. You can see the breakdown of the AMIs from 30% to 60% there. This development team has actually done 25 communities across 12 states. I believe they have 8 in the state of Texas currently. This is the proposed location at 2901 South Osage Street. And the little inset there is a site plan that we have reviewed through a preliminary application conference with the city already as well. Again, these are some images that were provided to us from the development team's portfolio. Shows a little bit of the architectural features that they provide in their developments. Staff's analysis on this. This again would provide affordable housing units in the southeast quadrant of Amarillo. The project is also consistent with the recommendations of that CDS 2022 residential housing study. Again, it is consistent with the comprehensive plan of diversifying the housing market. It is consistent with the existing zoning on the property, so no zoning is required on that. If awarded by TDHCA, this is expected to start late 23 to early 24 and take approximately 6 to 12 months. And staff does recommend approval of this one as well.
Questions? Do we have a motion with regard to this item then? Thank you, Cody.
Yes, Mayor, we do. I move to approve resolution number 02-14-23-5, providing support for an affordable housing tax credit application to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs Housing Tax Credit Program by KCG Lamont Lofts LP, a private entity, Lamont Lofts, a development for affordable housing located at 2901 South Osage Street.
Second. That's good time.
Motion by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilman Stanley. Any questions or discussion about the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. That passes with a 5-0 vote. Item 3J is consideration of resolution number 021423-6. Mr. City Manager.
All right, this is going to be City Secretary Stephanie Coggins presenting the item. This is for the PRAD board nominations.
Hi, Mayor and Council. So the Randall County Appraisal District Board notified us that Misty Clements has stepped down from their board. We are looking for a nomination from you if you'd like to nominate someone to serve on this board until the end of December to finish out her term. I will say we had received 3 names from Councilmember Smith, and those are Ginger White, Douglas A. Campbell, and Patrick Lee. And those are the 3 I've received in advance. And I will let Mr. Smith speak to those. I believe we have not asked them yet if they're willing to serve. But if y'all have any other names or anything, we would make a nomination. Once all the taxing units that get to make nominations to PRAD, they'll do so by the 20th of this month. And then their board, with a majority vote, will select one from that list to serve out the remainder of this term. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Yeah. Mr.
I'd say
Smith?
all three of these are realtors that I've known for a long time. I think it's logical to have a realtor on that board. And so I'd submit those three names if we need to pick one.
Mayor, I move to nominate Ginger White to fill a vacancy on the Board of Directors of the Randall County Appraisal District.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilmember Sauer to approve Ginger White as our nominee for the Potter Randall Appraisal District Board. Did I get that title of the board correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion or questions about the motion?
Can I
Mr.
ask,
Stanley?
thank you, Mayor, can I ask Councilmember Smith if that would be his first choice, or did you have another one on the list that you felt like was more qualified?
I would consider them all equal.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion passes with a 5-0 vote. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
And our last item on the action agenda is item 3K, which is consideration of resolution number 021423-7.
Right. This item is to call the election. Stephanie.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. This one is a resolution calling the election for May 6th. As you're aware, all 5 seats are up for election. This first slide is just the language on the resolution. Just to let you know, when we call this resolution, call the election, we will be calling a combined election. So if there are other agencies such as the school districts, the counties, et cetera, they would be on the ballot with us. We have a section for contracting. We contract with both Randall County and Potter County election administrators, and they do a great job. They take a lot of the stress off of us as the city, so we're thankful for that partnership. It will lay out the voting places in the exhibits behind it that are in your packet, and if there are any changes, it approves any changes by the counties to those as long as they're done within legal limits. Talks a little bit about the ballots and early voting. The counting stations and our main counting station where we will compile the results on election night will be here at City Hall. And then the need for a runoff election, if we have one, it sets that date, and that it authorizes us to expend any amounts for contracting and supplies needed for this election. So just some important dates for you to note. We're currently taking applications for place on the ballot. That continues through Friday. And so definitely encourage anyone interested in running to come put your application in. We've got candidate packets, so encourage you to come pick up a candidate packet if you're interested. Last day to register to vote on May 6th would be April 6th. So definitely encourage citizens, however they vote, to get to the polls and make their voice heard. First day of early voting is April 24th. The last day of early voting is May 2nd, and election day is May 6th. And then our plan is to canvass the election and swear in our new city officials on May 16th. If we do go to a runoff in any of our seats, we would do that on June 24th. So happy to answer any questions you have about the election.
Yes, Mr. Stanley?
Yes. So, Ms. City Secretary, has there been any changes to any criteria or any of our voting procedures from our last election?
I would have to double check that and get back with you. On a local level, there has not been.
Nothing that you're aware of?
You'll notice when you go to the ballot boxes, they're different now. They print out the paper that you then take over and scan in. So that's more on the contracting side. That's not on our side.
City election, still paperless, correct? It's not a paper ballot.
Correct. It is paperless, but when you go to vote, Mr. Stanley, it's going to print out something at the end that they scan in. But it'll be done just like if anyone voted in the November election, for example, very similar to that.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And Stephanie, I know that just from multiple conversations that it's efficient taxpayer dollar usage for us to use the county services. That's part of why we hire them, so that we don't have to also purchase and maintain voting equipment. But I mean, Anything else you want to say about why we hire the counties, contract with the counties to run our elections?
It is more efficient with us, and many of the taxing units around here all contract with the counties. And so both Malin Huntley at Potter County and Shannon Lackey at Randall County are amazing at what they do. And so we are very fortunate to get to lean on their expertise to carry that part of the election for us. So it definitely saves us time and resources, and that helps our taxpayers keep.
Yeah, it's all one taxpayer. I mean,
It is.
They pay to the counties, they pay to the city, so I think it's great when we work to create efficiencies between those organizations.
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
So the canvassing and swearing in of new officials is May the 16th. That's not officially a city council meeting day.
That is not. That's going to be a special called meeting, Dr. Sauer. And the reason for that is the first day we can canvass, I believe, is May 9th. And it is our meeting day. And so both the counties, depending on what provisional ballots they have out, they weren't confident in the fact that they may be ready by May 9th, but they may not. And so we decided to go ahead and do a special meeting on May 16th. We know we'll have everything finalized back from them at that point in time.
Okay.
And you have to canvass within how many days?
You have to canvass, and I'm going to have to look back. I think it's, let me cheat on my calendar here. Our canvass period has to be between May 9th and May 17th.
So we couldn't wait until that regularly scheduled
Correct.
May 23rd meeting?
Yeah, we really were stuck between two regular meetings.
Yeah.
So
it's a good question. Because I was also thinking May 23rd, just based on the
that's
meeting
actually
schedule.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie. Do we have a motion with regard to Resolution 021423-7?
Yes, Mayor, we do. I move to approve Resolution Number 02-14-23-7, ordering the regular municipal election of the City of Amarillo, Texas, to be conducted on May 6, 2023, in the City of Amarillo, Texas.
Second.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Councilmember Sauer to call the election using Resolution Number 021423-7. Any questions or discussion about the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. That motion passes with a 5-0 vote. That brings us to the end of our non-executive session items. Just to highlight, we are having a city council meeting next week due to a change in our a trip to Washington, D.C. to work on some projects that some of our staff and council members need to be gone for that last week. So just want to make sure everybody knows about that. Mr. City Attorney, do you mind reading our dismissal language?
Not at all. Pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, closed session of the Amarillo City Council was announced on February the 14th, 2023 at 2:53 p.m. under the following authorities. Section 551.074, discuss the evaluation and duties of a public officer or employee. Section 551.087, discuss commercial financial information received from an existing business or business prospect from which the city is negotiating for location or retention of a facility, or for incentives the city is willing to extend the financial information submitted by the same. Thank you.
Thank you. We're adjourned to executive session.